minute to take Wazukan into the masquerade, so I've had a lot of red fabric pressed into my face very hard while I huffed into it. So now I've got lots of red dye embedded in my face, I think. Please do film if you're going to film, and I'm going to properly start. Non-binaries, agenders, ladies, gentlemen, and others. That's if you're a fucker. Welcome to the show. We are Son the Fuck How here again for another year of heroic failures of anime. Welcome to 6.66, You Cannot Succeed. I have my own laptop. I've learned how to embed video because I'm no longer doing this in XP. This is a new and improved, smooth performance iteration of the panel. You are fucking welcome. Yeah, well, to be fair, I wrote that before today. I didn't know other people would overrun. So I'd like to thank everybody once again for your inexplicable support. People who've come before, people who've wandered in and have just realised in my fucking feelings, and they're worrying about whether or not they can leave discreetly without me noticing. Bad news, I notice everything, but I am finally medicated for the ADHD, so I'm probably a bit less distractible than in previous years. So, therefore, as always, and even more so than usual, feedback and input is welcome throughout the panel. Heroic Failures may be a noble and ancient institution, but when it comes to research, I am only one man. So I'd definitely like to still provide the usual warnings, as well as language and intensity, which can be off-putting. This panel delves into the darker side of anime creation and appreciation. Throughout the hour, there will be potential mentions or depictions of topics from death and self-harm to offences of a sexual nature. Whenever these are touched upon in any significant depth, I will let people know in advance. Please feel free to look away or to leave at any time. That said, this is a time to celebrate, as we are here to raise up our beautiful freaks of anime, to enjoy and to uplift. We can learn more from ambitious anime, which absolutely fucks it, than by staring at a masterpiece and wondering, how do? Knowing what it is that went wrong shows us how to get more out of our own project in life, and what to do to pick ourselves up when we ourselves face failure. An inspirational quote reminds us of the value inherent in our own glorious failures. Failure is the opportunity to begin again more intelligently. Now, as has become custom, Heroic Failures of Anime would like to take a moment as we begin to acknowledge our elders in the close-knit field of anime failure. Joyously, this year we have an update for our oft-mentioned mascot show, the Chinese Democracy of Anime. The sequel to Royal Space Force, The Wings of Honyame, this highly ambitious project was first announced back in 1992 and has been claimed at many times in the ensuing decades to still be in active production. Now, it was starting to feel a bit like flocking a dead horse, but happily, Heroic Failures HQ have turned up a shockingly recent interview with one Yamaga Hiroyuki, director of such projects as Mahoromatic, Daikon, Magical Shopping Arcade Adanobashi, writer of Gundam War in the Pocket, and, more to the point, director of the original Royal Space Force. Yamaga gave an interview to Nikkei about civilization theory. It was quite a good interview, if Google Translate is to be trusted, all about the cultural conflict inherent in Japanese society after Western ideals were used to overwrite old Chinese-inspired systems of order, like, he said, a pandemic. That is not what I'm really interested in, though. I'm interested in what he gave as his current professional body of work. Barely over a year ago, Yamaga Hiroyuki gave his job as currently working hard on the new work Aoki Uru. That is right! Aoki Uru is still professionally considered to be a work in progress. Order is restored. My heart is at peace. I still dare to dream. We open tonight's awards with a beautiful and timely controversy. A short and sweet, beautiful episode in recent anime history, this first recognition goes out to a lovely show with gorgeous animation, which did nothing wrong, but is nonetheless associated with and the facilitator of a fabulous bit of political insight and a massive act of public failure. Tonight's Abe Shinzo Memorial Award for achievement in inadvertently making America great again goes to Mob Psycho 100. Now, Mob Psycho 100 is a major work by the creator of One Punch Man, and it's the warm-hearted story of a boy known as Mob for his ability to fade into the background of any scene. Mob is secretly a powerful psychic who's just trying not to start shit, but he ends up working part-time for a non-psychic supernatural fraudster, and remarkable character growth ensues. It's just a nice little story about a boy and his ghosts and his unpsychic daddy figure who naturally went on to go down in history as a highly successful Tumblr sexy man.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did.
That is not the whole story, because somebody out there knows better than me about Mob Psycho. Before even the events of the January the 6th riots, the Republican Party of America was attempting to put its mark on certain terms, to define them in ways that could never be used by anybody else. One Donald Trump, take shots for those participating, was particularly fond of phrases intended to diminish his political opponents. His propaganda techniques were designed to blend those who stood against him into a faceless morass. He spent a lot of time implying that the richest public-facing leftist, Holocaust survivor George Soros, was personally funding actors to stand in at protests and disruptions, because surely nobody could actually believe that, for instance, guns kill people, Black Lives Matter, or that Donald Trump is an insolent piece of shit Kanye-ass cunt who needs to set himself up as a public urinal and eternal contrition for everyone who's ever hurt and will be hurt by the actions he's already taken. Does anybody remember what Trump's favourite word was at the time for his political opponents? The wokerati, the libtards, the woke mob. His son, Eric Trump, liked the word mob too, and felt apparently that it belonged to his family and their political dynasty. In September 2020, already a time when so much was happening, Eric Trump tweeted, "Google is once again trying to manipulate Americans. Type mob or mobs into Google and see what comes up. Do the same on any other search engine. Nothing to see here." That's right. Graham Shigeto, known to all as mob, is a leftist conspiracy. Probably funded by the deep state to suppress knowledge of Donald Trump's personal favourite linguistic memes. The internet, of course, responded accordingly. Get dunked on, asshole. Mob Psycho 100 is a cheerful anime about growth under trying circumstances, but it also became a show which exposed the Trump family as even greater close-minded technophobe dipshits than they'd ever been known as before. Top tier stuff. Heroic failures, salute you. The second award goes to an anime which also did nothing wrong, and a creator who very, very much did. The "I was rooting for you, we were all rooting for you" award for achievement in dismal inevitability goes to Oshiete Galko-chan. Oh yeah, you can hear the moans and cries of those in the know. Please Tell Me Galko-chan is a rare beauty in its genre. A series of shorts where a big booby Gyaru provides sweet and supportive advice and chats to her friends and classmates about various sexual questions. It's on Crunchyroll, and it's generally considered both innocuous and highly positive as a portrayal of female sexuality and general teenage cluelessness. Them Anime happily mentions that it avoids purity culture and makes positive comparisons to Danshi Kokose no Nishijo, the daily lives of high school boys. Otaku USA noted that if the goal is to make girls feel that they're not alone, it's been achieved. This unremarkable portrayal of female growth and curiosity becomes even more interesting when you hear that the creator, one Suzuki Kenya, is actually male. It's amazing to think he was able to use his own perspective to put himself in somebody else's shoes and create scenes like this, my first ever embedded video. Please play. No sound. Just watch the subs while I play with this.
Smash it. そのうち乗馬とかもしてみたいな。乗馬ってあれ、処女膜が破れることあるらしいね。嘘。長期間乗ってると死ぬこともあるとか。マジマジ？ああ、馬。私も好き。別荘でも乗馬。それ本当なの？乗馬で？私馬に乗っててそんな血が出たことなんてないよ。やっぱりお嬢はあれだね。いつも通りなのがいいよ。
And then, and with a trigger warning for just like 10 seconds, Suzuki was arrested for child porn offences. He claimed the photo books were legal when he bought them. They were not. He was given a 3-year suspended sentence, and Oshiete Galko-chan has been in limbo ever since. I don't know what I was expecting. There's obviously a lot of it around, but by being not just a likeable creator, but the fucking Galko-chan guy, It's truly, disgustingly, and reprehensibly predictable. Thank you and fuck you, bro. Now, this next award comes with a bit of a history round and/or lesson, depending on your perspective and your otaku deep dive tolerance level. The Space Jam The Website Award for Achievement in Commercial Homogeneity is going to be given to an anime which needs a little bit of context. There was a time in anime fandom when censorship wasn't entirely seen as the enemy, and this was doubly the case in the USA. It's not just the fear of taboo topics, it's also the fact that 65-episode series anime were needed for American syndication formats. This led to some interesting edits, which a lot of fans remain sympathetic towards to this day. Carl Masick is well known for his hack-and-slash edit of Super Dimension Fortress Macross, Super Dimension Cavalry Southern Cross, and Genesis Climber Mos Paideia into the Western Chimera known as Macross, with name changes, deaths removed, and relationships established between characters who were originally from wholly unrelated franchises. Harmony Gold's Robotech became a mature space saga anime, which even a more sheltered American audience would actually be allowed to watch, and it was a hit, helping to cement the early American anime fandom. Still, Harmony Gold's involvement with Robotech has made the rights to the original show a tangled mess for decades, and fans went from supportive to despairing as they clung to the threads of their IP, becoming the thing they'd worked to prevent, an entity that was stopping more people from seeing any version of Macross than it was enabling. Now, the Harmony Gold story is pretty well known, but it's far from the only unusual anime edit which came out in the West. There's a version of Sengoku Majin Goshugan out there that's been edited into a single show with Akudai Saxon Songul, renamed Macron 1, with music from Michael Jackson to Tears for Fears edited into the action scenes. Confusingly, Goshugan was also dubbed in a less edited format under the same Macron 1 name for European distribution. So like Sonic the Hedgehog's rival UK and Archie Comics incarnations and continuities, like Robotech and its extensive sequel comics on the Wildstorm label, this award is for an anime which finally crippled one of those long-running American legacy tales. For an act of astonishing cultural destruction, dethroning a gorgeous space on the old internet, the Space Jam The Website Award goes to Uchu Senkan Yamato 2199. So Tim Eldred is an American animator and artist who grew up in anime fandom and adored the edited version of Space Battleship Yamato from the moment he laid eyes on it. He fell headfirst into animation, eventually working on Western projects such as Dragon Tales, Teen Titans, Shaolin Showdown, and High Guardian Spice. Eldred has remained a dedicated fan throughout his career and life, even giving his daughter the middle name Fiana after an Armored Troopers Voton's character. She did grow up to be an anime fan herself, which is lucky, but she might be considered to have gotten away lightly even so, because if his daughter had been born a boy, Tim had been determined to try and call her Amaro. Why does it say cloak? Oh well. His love for the Americanized Star Blazers and work on adaptations of properties like Project A-ko, ND Geist, and Star Blazers into floppy comics made him a natural fit as a liaison for Voyager in the US. In the year 2000, he was hired to convert Star Blazers VHS releases into DVDs, and subsequently was asked by Voyager to launch StarBlazers.com as a hub for information in English on the franchise, and he became the writer and editor of the website. His love for the Americanized... Oh, no, I've read that paragraph. The scope of Eldred's word on StarBlazers.com is hard to describe in a few sentences. The website in this period contained incredibly extensive archive work, with hundreds of translated essays and interviews. There were photos of merchandise, events, and meets, and resources to help new and returning fans put the different edits of different iterations of Yamato into context. As the first website a returning older fan was likely to encounter, it was a fantastic resource. One of the most ambitious projects on the website was Eldred's continued work, making comic contributions to the Star Blazers Western continuity. While these webcomics weren't exactly canon, they were produced as a part of the extremely official website and were based on abandoned plotlines and concepts from materials throughout the history of Yamato, including the then unproduced plans for a reboot project. Again, these didn't technically carry the sanction of Voyager Entertainment, but they appeared on the Voyager website that they'd asked Eldred to run, and while they are distinguishable from anime or manga, the comics display an extremely high level of polish. He followed Star Blazers' rebirth up with a continuation of the third Yamato canon series, The Bola Wars Extended, a project based on his frustration that the original ambitious concept had been cut from a 4 to a 2-cour show. Attached to a massive archive as it was, and on the very findable Starblazers URL, the many-year comic project attracted followers from around the world, including Japanese fans, one of whom commented, "Finally, a Yamato story which might actually finish!" So when is that heroic failure coming to kick this massive fan heritage project in the balls? In late 2012, that's when. This site is the only official site of Starblazers, and all the other similar sites are unofficial, unauthorized, and whoever operates such sites without our permission or license will be prosecuted for violation and infringement of copyrights. In December 2013, this message went down and was eventually replaced with a parallel website, attempting to inform about Yamato in a much more corporate way than the old starblazers.com resources. The website was plastered with branding for Yamato 2199, the then current project in the newly ongoing Yamato saga. The newsfeed on this replacement website stopped updating in August 2014, with an apology for the postponed release of the final Yamato 2199 DVDs and Blu-rays. And after pretty extensive research, it seems like those DVDs and Blu-rays were never actually released anywhere. And then, during the pandemic, the administrators of the new website simply stopped paying their hosting fees. Now, Eldred's massive fan project lives on at ourStarblazers.com, and not to the dubbed opening theme tune, but the rejection and the lack of gratitude for his work clearly rankled, and to this day he mentions having not received an explanation or an apology. At a time when the official Unicode follow-up manga is actually going to be from an international creator team, a fan work as major as the original Starblazers.com, and projects as serious as Eldred's Starblazers follow-up comics deserve to be taken seriously, preserved in a form where they can be easily accessed by both Japanese and international audiences. Now, Yamato 2199 didn't turf Eldred out of his space maliciously, but Voyager Entertainment did. Fuck you guys for that, so that award goes out to you in spirit. Oh, come on! It wouldn't have happened the way it did without Harmony Gold. They're being dicks now, but anime history might have gone badly without them. There are apologists and they sound really convincing. I don't have a horse in this race. I've never seen it because Harmony Gold are the fucking rights. Now, it is the year 2024 to my eternal shock and dismay. But I'm sure we still remember the global pandemic which first shut down the UK in 2020. What do you remember about that year? For me, it's banana bread being made redundant and the dawning realization that if my parents were cunts, maybe I didn't need to keep up with them after all. Prince Harry thinking the same thing. Australia caught fire, Beirut exploded, and the Black Lives Matter movement went mainstream. That's right, 2020 was 4 years ago already. And when the news is this packed, things move on very quickly. Furthermore, the culture of the early pandemic was so very specific that it's all packed together into this weird champlu. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death was announced the same night those damn pots and pans were being bashed together on my road, and neither did much to improve my mood. The Ever Given reminds me of Colston going for a dip in the harbour. You can't separate these weird and highly specific events from one another. So it is within that context that Heroic Failures is proud to present the How Do You Do, Fellow Children Award for groundbreaking achievement in relevance, which goes to Shinobanai, Crypto Ninja Sakuya, released at the end of 2023. This is an anime about cryptocurrency, and the characters are all NFTs. NFTs were fucking stupid for the 5 minutes when people were able to use them to make money, and they are now an absurd irrelevance that non-technical people never quite got their heads around in the first place. Congratulations, Shinobanai Crypto Ninja Sakuya, you are a ridiculous anime, a high concept, dead before you could even launch. We celebrate your achievements. No, it's being renewed for a second series, so it's me who was wrong. I genuinely don't know what the reception to the following award is likely to be, and I'm not going to go around doing a straw poll to decide how to approach this delicate topic. At Heroic Failures HQ, we are under the impression that the genre of the work in question may be something of a turn-off to more established fans, such as many of our esteemed audience, but that is in a we've seen it all before way, rather than a negativity about the content way. So I'm sure that this show has its fans and also its detractors, but it's not immediately obvious who's going to hold the floor tonight. So please let me take great care to be even-handed as I present the harmful drug known as Cake Award for achievement in magnificently failing as a gateway to isekai, which goes to Mushoku Tensei. See, I knew it. Controversial. Mushoku Tensei is a truly curious product. It wears too many hats for sure. It's an isekai, a genre so many people are already burned out on, and I can totally respect that perspective. It is made by a new studio with no major works to their name prior to this. It's based on a single author web novel, which is where it truly achieves distinction for weirdness. Now, authors are wonderful and brilliant and passionate people, but when a project is self-edited, like the original Mushoku Tensei, the writer is free to explore any topic they may wish, which is usually great, but the monkey's paw is that nobody can stop them from exploring any topic that they wish. So when some well-meaning studio puts their heart and soul into animating said web novel, they can iron out the... Oh, fuck you. Oh, yeah. They can iron out... It's only when I actually talk. They can iron out the kinks all they like, but people can easily find out more about the original intent of the author, and sometimes that can be awkward. Now, I'd like to introduce you properly to Mushoku Tensei with an animation reel from a Sakuga collator before I talk about the problems with the anime. This original collection of beautiful animation from the show was by Blizzard Inferno on YouTube, and I've cut it down just a little for time.
Is
I don't want to try the other one.
Is there a button on the mic?
No, there's not. Well, there is a button, but I'm not pressing it. It's when I tip it at a certain angle, it suddenly stops, and I don't know why. Testing.
Now drop the beat.
I was meant to say that there's nothing even moderately objectionable in that bit. Oh my fucking god. Can anybody help me? This is not working now. Sorry. I could just try one of these actually, because we push everything else. Testing.
Don't put it in.
Testing. Okay, whatever, that works. Thank you. Oh, no, does that work now? I think that stopped this working. Testing. Definitely on, definitely not on mute. Testing.
It is on, it's just quiet.
Oh, so toggle one. Testing. They all look pretty loud from here. Oh, yay! Thank you so much. We are now down to one microphone. So, thank you again. As I was meant to tell you before actually playing that, there is nothing even moderately objectionable in that video. If anything, it highlights how truly generic most of the premise of Mushoku Tensei actually is. Rhodeus, originally a Japanese man who was hit by a truck and died, has been reincarnated as the child of two retired adventurers, retaining his original personality and memories as he grows up into a new person. His new dad is a fuckboy and makes problems, but he trains him in swordsmanship. His parents don't stop him from getting into the magic books as a toddler, so he becomes a frighteningly powerful magic user. However, he is still socially awkward and refuses to go further than the end of his parents' garden for many years. Studio Bind made great use of this premise, and I hope I'm not exaggerating when I say that some of the animation they produced for Mushoku Tensei, a TV anime, rivals old-school Ghibli for quality and inventiveness. And if it wasn't for certain issues with the narrative, it could be one of the greatest possible gateway anime for non-fans. That step from the way that everybody likes at least one Ghibli to the realization that TV anime are amazing and diverse and can be about absolutely everything, exploring big ideas in unique and insightful ways. However, Studio Bind have not completely filed off the serial numbers. They do try to soften matters by adding some content to Rhodeus' original Japanese backstory, saying that he was bullied and humiliated at school. Now please literally put your hands over your ears until I move this slide on if you're not comfortable with hearing some more sexually alarming things. I will be a couple of minutes and it's going to be unpleasant, I'm not kidding. The anime adds a scene showing Rhodeus being stripped and bound at school, a sexually humiliating episode of his life which led to him fully withdrawing from society in the first place. This is set up as a justification in the lead up to the day of his death. His parents have died and Rhodeus, now in his 30s, didn't so much as go to their funeral. He's in his room watching porn and slapping the salami when his extended family get back from the funeral and throw him out into the night in their outrage and disgust. Totally lost and isolated, he encounters a girl about to be hit by a truck, tries to help her, and is killed. Watching the anime without prior knowledge, this is the point at which my wife asked what the fuck was on the screen when he was masturbating. I looked it up. It turns out it was made a lot clearer in the books, and it even explains a little bit about why, despite his clear mental health problems, Rhodeus' family heartlessly threw him out into the street that night. It was his 9-year-old niece, using the toilet, filmed on a camera he'd set up himself. And the problem with this is that you cannot remove the protagonist's paedophilia from the concept of Mushoku Tensei. It posits itself as a sexually frank anime, dealing with topics such as cheating, parenting, underage sex and attraction, fetishes and kinks, slavery, idolization, and even erectile dysfunction, this last one being a major plot point. All elements of sexuality are discussed in even-handed ways throughout the show. And the biggest problem is that as the story goes on, the thing which makes this anime such a hard fucking sell, Rhodeus has not stopped being a paedophile. His attraction to young girls is a part of the plot throughout the show and cannot be removed. Even if the day of his death could be tweaked to be less immediately disgusting to viewers, it's a major motivation throughout the show. He wants to become better at magic because he idolizes his underage appearing teacher, Roxy. He continues when he's on the brink of despair by opening his secret shrine and caressing his greatest treasure, the tiny knickers he stole from that teacher. He becomes a young tutor himself, motivated to continue when it's difficult by the coerced promise of sex when his protege reaches 15. He refines his magic by using it to make cast-off figurines of people he knows. And he makes it through a perilous situation by tying 2 teenage girls up until they piss themselves and humiliating them further until they agree to help him. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, I cannot stress enough, this anime is beautiful, it's moving, it's warm and genuine. It's inspirational and full of genuine healing and growth, and parts of the narrative are up there with the greatest adventure stories when it comes to big canvas good and evil stuff. It's a fabulous anime, which I normally wouldn't be able to recommend enough, and it is literally about a paedophile going around being extremely lightly reformed. If you can stomach it, it works. I have no doubt that the new and improved Rhodeus, who has interests and hobbies beyond paedophilia, will be able to live a happy and fulfilling life in his isekai realm and will probably never actively predate again, but he does not reflect and he is not fixed. The anime admits that time and time again. Studio Bind has staked everything on this anime, and it is wonderful. It's an anime that some people will never be able to watch, and it's an anime which some people will watch and hate. For an absolutely incredible choice of source material, alienating in its form as an isekai, and wildly alienating as a narrative about reform which doesn't stop its protagonist from predating on children, when it comes to recognizing failures, Bind have truly earned our admiration. Now, after all of that capital C content, I think it's time for a little light relief. I'm fucking kidding. We're going straight to the Barad-dûr Tourism Board for achievement in diabolical machinations. Barad-dûr is Sauron's abode, described by Tolkien in no uncertain terms. He called it that vast fortress, armoury, prison, furnace of great power. Barad-dûr, the dark tower, which suffered no rival and laughed at flattery, biding its time, secure in its pride and its immeasurable strength. So this award is due to be presented to an anime that serves as evidence there's a sweet little piece of home from home for Sauron in Japan, a place where industry crushes joy, where the hope, health and careers of artists are smashed under the wheel of tyrannical oppression. And the anime nominated to receive this award on behalf of its studio is Jujutsu Kaisen! Spirited shonen trauma fable about nice teenagers eating fingers, Jujutsu Kaisen is obsessively produced by the evil workhouse Mappa. Mappa had already attracted concern in previous years, and this was particularly noticeable in the year that they wrested the wheel from Whipped and began to animate the final seasons of Attack on Titan at the same time as the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen. The animation industry, particularly in Japan, is very well known for churning up all but the hardiest artists, but by the time that feature film Jujutsu Kaisen 0 came out, rumours emerged that it had been produced in just 4 months. For reference, an episode of The Simpsons takes 6 months to make, and SpongeBob SquarePants took up to 11 months per episode, and even other anime usually tried to allocate an absolute minimum of 2 months lead on a 22-minute episode. This was a feature film, and a flashily animated one at that. Mappa's utterly broken scheduling has meant that every time they get a success like Jujutsu Kaisen, they seem to push their artists harder. By the time that the second season was on the air, reports began to leak to the press that Mappa animators had been asked to sign NDAs regarding their working conditions. Eventually, one animator tweeted that he'd had only 5 days to work on the episode he'd been assigned to, and the director of episode 12 simply tweeted an illustration of, slight pause before I actually show the image, a suicidal Yasuhara Emma from Shirobako. That character is an animator. Japanese employees are not usually known for speaking out, so by the time Twitter began to fill up with animators tweeting, "It's done. I have nothing left to lose," and calling Mappa scum, it was apparent things were extremely bad. One notable animator tweeted that the only people who mattered at Mappa were the board members and higher-ups. The final episode of... The final episode of Jigokuraku, meanwhile, listed 38 animation directors, which is not how any of this works. Jujutsu Kaisen has people discussing whether Mappa has any future as a studio, with the unprecedented outpouring of bitterness and pain from staff members. While the show itself has been a resounding success, it's certainly enough to make it a heroic failure. Congratulations. So this one is actually silly. Really, really silly. I had to go back and keep checking my sources because I couldn't quite believe it had actually happened. I've used a lot of words already to shout about problem people tonight, so I will not hang around and introduce them this one. Tonight's Wish You Were Here Memorial Award for Musically Likeable Anime Achievement goes to Gundam Seed Destiny. Gundam Seed is a Gundam show, so while I haven't watched this or Destiny yet and don't care to spoil it myself, I'm going to hazard a guess that it's about the following. An emotionally tormented teenager who is debatably autistic coded is dragged into a war he claims to want nothing to do with, but he sure is amazing at blowing people up with his big white robot suit. A blonde woman his age is doing flirts with him and political manipulations for the greater good. Somebody wears a very silly metal mask while thinking he's the good guy, and maybe a silly young rich boy gets his comeuppance come the revolution. These are all guesses, but I like to imagine I know everything we'll do about Gundam.
Fair enough.
What I do know is that at the time that Gundam Seed and the follow-up Gundam Seed Destiny were seen as modernising shows in the digital era, some people loved them and some didn't, but everybody seems to have liked the music. Composed by Kajiura Yuki, here's a little snippet of the 4th ending theme, Kimi wa boku ni niteiru. And that is nice, right? Really nice. And it seems that lots of people agree. In 2021, and I assure you this is related, the former president of the Philippines, Benigno S. Equiano III, passed away following kidney failure at the age of 61. His socially distanced funeral was broadcast live online.
Ayan, sinasaksihan natin.
Who doesn't like seesaw?
Now, that president was known to have been a gamer in his personal life, so it's possible he was an actual fan of Seed Destiny. That is still a hell of a gut punch in the middle of a state event, so even, despite the fact that it's probably not a mistake or anything, the rule of funny wins, and enjoy your award, go and see Destiny.
Had to be Destiny, no, not the original.
Well, that's why you know he probably really meant it.
Yeah, I guess so. You'd have to.
So, the next award, and I know I'm punting pages, but the ones I've read, goes to a highly successful anime, which frankly actually has not done much to disgrace itself. It's not that the anime itself was a failure then, but that it was the inspiration and vessel for a very daft episode in anime failure history. The Dreaming Artist Award for achievement in tilting at windmills goes to Ranma 1/2. Now, in 1994, Takashi Rumiko was hot shit. She is famous and successful now and all, but this was straight after Ranma 1/2 and Urusei Yatsura were at their absolute peak. Enter gossip magazine, The Rumored Truth. Now, shout out to last year's Grand Prize Heroic Failures winner. This magazine actually spent the 90s talking quite correctly about all the young singers Kitagawa Johnny kept diddling, so good for them. But swing and a miss too, because they chose the peak of Takashi's fame to print allegations that Ranma was actually mostly ghostwritten.
Are you fucking kidding me? Test. I don't know what to do at this point because I'm down to. If I yell, can people hear?
Yes.
Fuck it.
You're very good at
people!
that.
Yeah, come on. There's some medicatable talent there. Right. I have an extra hand now too. They chose the peak of Takashi's fame to print allegations that Ranma was actually mostly ghostwritten by a different artist, who later turned out to be Shimizu Aya. Shimizu Aya was busy off marrying the mangaka of Ghost Sweeper Mikami, who was an assistant. Harder, because I'll tell you what I'm doing. She was certainly an assistant to Takashi at the time, and she could definitely draw. She did these at school. Ooh. Anyway, the allegations of her being a ghostwriter were stupid. They didn't come from Shimizu herself, and Takahashi sued the Rumored Truth for libel, winning either 900,000 or 300,000 yen. The court documents aren't clear on how those costs were split. And nobody ended up dousing anybody in petrol. I miss the 90s. Actually, Furinkan, the website where this story was archived, did mention that the magazine eventually folded after, in 2000, having published a story about Princess Masako, where they didn't use honorifics. A right-wing organisation did physically attack and injure the editor-in-chief and one other staff member, so there is that. Do let me know if my volume becomes either too loud or too soft. It's harder to regulate. I'm looking at you people in the background. In the back row, that's the word. Thank you, I appreciate you, the person who raised your hand. Funny you should bring him up earlier, Chris. Despite massive successes, oh no, that's the wrong way. I am absolutely cheating when I give the following award, but that's the point. So hopefully you'll let it slide. This is because our next award goes to one of the greatest and most influential anime to never exist. And I mean it exists even less than Aokiuru, which is fucking saying something. So despite massive success over a 50-year history, despite being one of the longest running manga not to rely on ghostwriters, despite continuing recognition and merch sales in Japan, despite having accessible art, an easy to understand broad stroke story that can be picked up from pretty much any point, and despite containing iconic chapters of madness, going up to and including the protagonist stealing the Pope, there is no anime for the following manga. It has been translated into English, Thai, and Chinese. It's seen as one of the first gay manga to achieve success with less feminine characters, and it is even the first cited manga whose slash fics were being translated from Japanese as far back as the 80s. The mangaka is included amongst the beloved and highly influential Showa 24 group, alongside the creators of Rose of Versailles, Towards the Terror, Heart of Thomas, A Song of Wind and Trees, The Poe Clan, and They Were 11. Now, could it be that the risky material contained within this iconic story was considered too controversial to anime, as people sometimes suggest? about fellow shoujo classic Banana Fish? No, the real reason for the non-existence of this anime is much, much sillier. Without further ado, the Guy Gomez BBC Job Interview Award for distinction in illegibility goes to From Eroica with Love. Eroica is the completely ridiculous tale of a ludicrously ambitious gay British lord who is in love with art, theft, and the stern NATO officer who seems to mysteriously pop up whenever he leaves the estate to do crimes. Oh, Dorian Red Glory is a canny young cat burglar whose only motivation is beauty, only things which are beautiful and fucking men who are also beautiful. Meanwhile, Major Klaus Heinz von Rem Erbach is a stoically honourable German of unfortunate recent ancestry who only truly cares about the beautiful functionality of his one true love, tank. Thanks to the Earl's surprise and intrigue at being turned down, and thanks to Klaus's blatant asexuality, they managed 39 volumes of absolute nonsense and crimes, usually in completely ridiculous outfits, and occasionally in each other's absolutely ridiculous outfits. Ostensibly a parody of James Bond, it is basically an extremely queer farce done well with an out-protagonist and positive portrayal of trans characters throughout. And anybody who grew up in Fujo spaces will know we were hugely enthusiastic about every little project, short film, 2 OVA set, or tape to trickle out of Japan. Quality work stood out above all others. In a field with so few anime at the time, Eroica could have done numbers. It's saucy and dramatic, but it's also genuinely funny, giving it massive crossover appeal. So, what is the real reason that there's never been an anime of Eroica? Mangaka's not really into anime. So, she doesn't want an anime made of Eroica, so there's never been one. The only anime to feature the beloved characters is, believe it or not, a single crowd pan in the second Project A-ko movie, also the Daigo Fuji Financial Group. And even that came out when Eroica had already been running for over a decade. Fans of this occasionally continuing work have had to rely on other adaptations. There's been a vinyl audio drama, but Eroica currently gets the most attention as a theatre production, the most recent iteration of which came out only last year. Now, how would a play handle the drama, the high stakes, and the special effects necessary to carry it all off? The heists, the fights, the action? Stage magic, of course. And naturally, I have a clip.
Yay!
I promise that is exactly how the manga hits. Seek and read it if it pleases
Do you want
you.
to save your voice for a couple of minutes just so we're now back up on set?
I can yell. It's fine, because I know that there's a problem with run over, and I know how much I've got left. I'm experienced at yelling, and I really appreciate you coming in.
and everything.
It's not apologise to me, apologise to the committee, and now we've done all the money around.
Oh no, but it's good because the next person will probably need mics, and it might be that they're not charged.
Don't silver lining.
Yeah. It's sort of the theme of this thing. And by the way, regarding Eroica, it initially started off as a psychic teen manga about 3 protagonists called Caesar, Gabriel, Sugar Plum, and Leopard Solid.
Fantastic.
Just so you'd like to know that bit. Now, the final and most spectacular award of the evening must go to a very special anime indeed. Sloppy animation, piss-poor writing, abysmal voice acting, and a real violent streak. They are all present in Heroic Failure's favourite show to come out before before the exhaustive awarding panel this year. It's the Beautiful Second Life Award for glory in cult status both east and west. And it goes to Chargeman Ken. You may well have heard of this horrible little anime, but after the pain I've put myself through to research this godforsaken show myself, Chargeman Ken was not meant to be watched in 3 sittings. How could I not spend some proper time giving this appalling fucking mess the recognition it deserves? Now, at first glance, Chargeman Ken may not appear to hold the usual level of ambition or underlying quality that is usually considered essential for an anime to attain a coveted Heroic Failure award. For that, I ask you to consider two things. One, that the sheer degree of incompetence on all levels behind Chargeman Ken is in and of itself a remarkable underlying quality that has the form of ambition, if not the content. It represents a masterwork of staggering technical and narrative incompetence. On every conceivable level. And two, it is the occasional flashes of some degree of effort in storytelling, acting design, or world building that make Chargeman Ken so timelessly fucking bizarre. Ken and his family have identifiable personalities and characteristics. The dialogue is very occasionally funny on purpose. There is actually a second song in the show, even if they don't start using it until about episode 40. This isn't your run-of-the-mill Saturday morning breakfast cereal tie-in. It's not a cheap knockoff of the most popular adult action film at the time. It's not two words slammed together to try to market something desirable to a marketing board at a misperforming
toy company. I can't press it then if I do that.
Oh, right.
I'm really happy to do it without it. I'm just thinking of the next person.
Yeah.
Shall I turn this off and just yell? Or...
No.
Okay. It's just nearly done, that's all. Okay. It's not two words slammed together to try to market something desirable to a marketing board at a mid-performing toy company in the run up to Christmas. Chargeman Ken is beyond these ordinary measures of dismality. It is odder. In fact, the badness of Chargeman Ken is compelling. It's not the gut-churning badness that makes you hide your face in agony. It's the late-night TV stoner, quick-cut, zero-budget weirdness that absolutely demands your attention. I find myself deeply relieved that my wife is unable to knock me up, because after watching the whole thing so quickly, I am certain that I now have exactly the kind of brainworms which would force me to change any child's name to Ken. Chargeman Ken is the story of a small future boy named Izumi Ken. For completely unexplained reasons, he is the sole bastion of Earth's defenses against the invading Duralian aliens. He lives with his father, mother, sister, and horrible robot in a future house with future technology. He goes to a future school and dreams of sexual and martial conquest. He can hear people's thoughts, but his powers only work when the lights are on. That's okay, because the Duralians always trap him in inconveniently well-lit dungeons and evil factories, and Ken plays fair by forgetting to remember he can also think. What the Duralians want is never clear. A confused group whose members occasionally fall in love with Ken and have to be executed for this crime. They are forceful in stating that they want to cull humanity, but nobody really knows why, and nobody is doing anything about it. I have compiled my own original highlight reel instead of pitching somebody else's. Because Chargeman Ken is a masterwork that can't be summed up in one or two clips.
We appreciate your service.
I thank you. Please enjoy this video, and rest assured that, if anything, this all makes slightly more sense than it did in the original context. Note midway through the animator's positioning notes for the cut, which appear partway along with his hand. It's a big file. It's a really big file. I can dig it out of my hard drive if it doesn't play embedded. Right. So just really quickly pull that up. Oh no, don't play in fan view, play in something real. That's just my testing thing. Sorry about this. That's probably the most stable thing on here. No, not that one. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I just installed VLC, so I don't know if it works because I installed it where to do weird shit. But I will try that.
VLC
oh my god.
works.
Yeah, well, so does Earthfan if you're just testing. I'm not inflicting on you.
未来社会はこのように何でも便利に合理的にとても暮らしやすいようになるんだ。
おじいちゃん、大仏様がもし歩けたとしても、あんな優しい顔の大仏様が暴れるなんて信じられて？確かめなくちゃ。 よーし、
来んな、近寄るな。僕じゃ近寄るな。近寄るとぶらすぞ。
牧師さん。
てめえ、くそー。
なぜ
Religion kicks
みんな
ass.
死後センターからそんなに大勢の子供を引き取って何をしているのかしら。
もし良くないことだったら、お願いです、ケンさん。真相を突き止めてください。
喋りたくても声が出まい。スカイロットも呼べまい。
誰だ、ここにいるのは。待て人混みの中にキャロンやめなさい。
お兄ちゃん殺してやる。成田先生、もう知らない天体に苗など埋めるのはすごいですね。そうね、私たちの地球は他の悪い星から絶えず狙われているんですものね。
Evil planets.
Again, I want to reiterate, we thank you for your service.
I feel like a changed person. Sorry, I don't know the shortcuts. Slideshow, start from current slide. Skip the one that was too big.
Yes.
So there is that hand once again for the fans. So I really cannot recommend watching Chargeman Ken, with one highly specific exception. If you find yourself experiencing mental illness, I want to enjoy a relatively safe way to leave your body and visit a different plane for a few hours. This is an excellent alternative to hard drugs or self-harm and will undoubtedly do the trick. Now, the joyful thing about Chargeman Ken is nothing to do with this godforsaken piece of shit swamp of a creation. It's the love and beauty its madness engenders in the aghast and adoring viewers. People who pick it up cannot put it down. In the mid-2000s, thanks to a quiet home video release, Chargeman Ken abruptly became a meme in Japan, achieving fame on Nico Nico and 2chan. This led to the opening of an actual Chargeman Ken website in the year of our Lord 2010, as well as 2 rebroadcasts. This is on 2 different channels a few years apart, so it appears that both times it made it back to TV, this was on purpose. Merchandise appeared. And then a musical opened.
あんまり皆さんを驚かせるものじゃないな。おうや。
エン君、今日は帰りなさい。
He is thinking. Interestingly, that's the one original thing in Chargeman Ken. The Speed Racer opening aesthetic comes from this.
そうか、
頭の中に爆弾だ
Yeah, the show was translated for the first time and released on DVD in the West, where it became a meme all over again. People were filled with praise at the incoherent yelling, missing sound effects, absence of internal logic, and the hairs on the cells. Truly, this was a unique anime. Then they did a second musical, which I realised is when I was meant to roll that clip. It was felt necessary to have 4 people playing Ken at the same time in order to achieve the required level of madness. Now, after the emotional effort involved in trying to explain why Chargeman Ken is, I ran out of energy to come up with a closing line, so I defer to the off-brand PowerPoint to see you all out. For anybody who came in later in the thing, I want to reassure you that I haven't been hit in the face.